A son terrorizing the family.
Why are you scared? I'm not going nowhere.
Calm down. Calm down. Do not break it.
A mom in fear.
He pulled the phone from my hand and pushed me backwards. I had my arms like this, and he pinned me up against the wall, screaming at me. I didn't think I was going to get out of the house alive.
What gives you the right to treat a woman that way? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. My guest Abby says one of the worst nights of her life was when she was held against her will, pushed into a wall, hit her head, then wound up bruised and bleeding. Even more disturbing, the perpetrator wasn't a stranger, but her 17-year-old son, Aiden. Now, Abby says her son went from an honor roll student who loves music and running track to a violent wannabe gangster facing criminal assault charges. She says Aiden can go from 0 to 60 when he loses his temper. Here's a video example that she sent us.
Your fault! Why are you scared? Why are you scared? I'm not going nowhere.
Calm down. Calm down. Do not break it.
Well, Abby's at a loss, but she should know the drill because she is a licensed health counselor for troubled teens. Now, the only trouble is she can't seem to figure out what to do with her own son. Aiden's older sister, Kaylee, wrote to me as a last-ditch effort to stop her brother from going down this destructive trap.
Aiden went from an amazing student, a great athlete. Now I don't even recognize him. He's smoking weed, he's lying. I've never been more scared for my life.
Why are you scared? Why are you scared? Why are you scared?
Aiden was 14 years old when I first saw videos that he was smoking marijuana.
It's really scary living with Aiden. He started smoking weed and drinking every single day and then became very aggressive towards my mom. She's scared of him. I don't think there's been a day in the house within the past, 3 months that he hasn't yelled at her.
Why are you scared? You're scaring her. I don't care. Go, you're wrong.
8 times within the past month, the police have been called to our house because of Aiden.
Well, I was in his room, saw my diamond ring that obviously he had taken without my knowledge. I asked him about it, and that's when he just started to behave erratically. I saw that look in his eye. It was terrifying. So I said, just leave. I locked the door. He started banging on the glass. I was on the phone with the police. He pulled the phone from my hand and pushed me backwards. I had my arms like this, and he pinned me up against the wall, screaming at me. I didn't think I was going to get out of the house alive. I had bruises that I didn't even know. I hit my head on a windowsill, and then he threw my phone out into the woods.
As soon as I pulled in the driveway, I saw the door completely busted open. The window was shattered. There was glass everywhere. There was blood on the walls. There was blood on the floor. And it was one of the scariest moments of my life.
This is what our front door looks like now. Aiden had punched out the glass. The police ended up coming to the house. They did end up arresting him. I went to go pick him up about a week later. He chased after me again. The police showed up and they tackled him to the ground. So another domestic battery charge and battery on an officer.
If my brother doesn't get help, I fear that he will end up in jail or dead.
Okay, this is getting bad, right? You think it's getting really critical.
Yes.
All right, and you think it's ironic that you're trained in working with troubled teens, and it's like the cobbler's children have no shoes.
Exactly.
But when we take a step back, you and I both know that that's really not that hard to understand because there's no objectivity when it's your own child, and they don't look at you the way someone else's child will look at you. You're just mom. Don't be so hard on yourself about that. Are you afraid of your brother?
Yes.
What is it that scares you?
I'm not necessarily scared for my own safety when it comes to him, but I am scared that if he gets out of control again with my mom, she might end up dead.
You think it could go that far?
For sure. He just sees red. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he'll hurt anyone that gets in between him and what he wants.
What's he so mad about?
I'm the only person that he has left, his parent-wise, and I'm the one who holds him accountable, that doesn't give up on him. But he's pissed off that he lost his dad when he was 3.
He was 3, and you were...
6.
You were 6, 3 and 6. And what did you tell him and Kaylee?
At that age?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it happened Christmas Eve, so I didn't say a word to them until the day after Christmas. So the day after Christmas, I sat them both down, I believe separately, because they were older. She was 6, he was 3. I said, just like God gives us the breath of life, you know your dad has been unhappy, he's been sick, and God took back his breath. And that's all I explained to them.
You know, just a few weeks ago, there was a really violent incident, and there was a broken glass door because he punched through the glass, right?
Yeah.
There was blood on the window from Aiden after he injured himself punching through it, right?
Yeah.
And there were bruises on you because he was holding your arms
Like against the wall.
Pinning you against the wall.
It all happened because he wanted to go see friends, to go smoke. And I said, I really don't want you going. He's like, I'm going to go anyway, but I'd rather, like, know where he's going, like drive him. I said, I'm going to go look upstairs to make sure you cleaned your room. I went upstairs, and something made me look over on his bookcase, and I saw one of my diamond rings. And I looked at it. It, like, didn't hit me. I was like, why is this here? I walked down the stairs, and we were home alone. So it was just me and my son. We just got back from church. I said, Aiden, like, why is this in your room? He's like, I don't even know what that is. And it escalated to the point to where, like, I didn't raise my voice, but he just kind of started losing it and, like, went to leave the house. So I went to lock the door because I was like, fine, just leave. I locked the door. And then he wanted to get back in because he dropped his vape in the house. So I went to go get the vape, and I just wanted to throw it out. But at that point, he started banging on the glass, and it started to shatter. And I started to call 911.
Okay, is he in charge now? You said you didn't want him to go, but he's going, so I'll just drive him. So is he in charge?
It feels that way. I feel like a prisoner in my own home.
You've put him in programs.
Yep.
You've called the police, what, 8 times in the last 30 days or so?
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
He says that he feels like you're trying to get other people to raise him. You say you felt like the same thing happened to you, that you got pushed off to other places. He said there's been residential treatment center, wilderness program, hospitals, shelters, cops been called, detention center, where you're like, okay, fine, I can't handle this, let somebody else deal with it. Did you feel the same way?
At the time, for sure. But then looking back, it's like if I was kept in the home, I probably might have escalated to where Aiden's at now. I feel like she kind of waited longer with Aiden than she did with me.
Okay, why were you so upset?
I was sexually assaulted when I was 16 at high school. And I was too scared to tell anyone. I'm sorry. So I kind of just kept that anger inside and that sadness. And it came out in violence, getting in fights at school, arguing with her and everything, and nothing ever got better until I was able to see a therapist and talk about what happened to me.
First, I don't want to gloss over that. I'm really sorry that happened to you. And do you feel like that you got resources you needed to heal that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad of that, and I'm sorry. I just didn't want to gloss over that because that's terrible. And I hate that for you. I'm sorry that happened.
Thank you.
Coming up, Abby says her son is violent, defiant, smokes weed all day long. So how did he treat my staff? I mean, was he belligerent, defiant, resistant? We'll meet Aiden. We'll talk about all of that when we come back.
When I steal, it feels like a rush. I don't necessarily black out. I try to remember back on it, and it's more just fuzzy to me. A couple months ago, my mother and I got into a really bad argument. I was just thinking to myself, wow, I really just got into a domestic dispute with my mother.
Monday.
I was afraid the whole audience was going to be pregnant.
She can't travel and refuses to eat at a restaurant.
When phobias
Have completely taken control of their lives.
leave them frozen
This is really a gripping issue with you, right?
by fear.
It's important to avoid cross-contamination, so these are my kitchen utensils, and these are my parents.
That's Monday. Then on Tuesday,
I will rip this side of my hand on that side of your face.
a house of chaos.
The dog's jumping up and biting him. He's strangling the dog. You're hitting at him. Seriously?
That's Tuesday.
About a year and a half ago, I noticed Aiden would steal jewelry. He actually stole this bracelet. I wear this bracelet all the time now because I don't want him to steal it.
My brother has stolen my credit card so many times. I've had to cancel 4 cards. He's stolen my gold necklace twice.
In the last few months, he's gotten fired at a brewery for stealing 2 bottles of wine and fired from a local restaurant for stealing money. We did invest in having cameras for inside the house.
We have surveillance footage showing Aiden sneaking something into his pocket that he stole from my friend.
Look, he just
Shoved something in the cushion.
and he jumped over to the other couch.
Why did he jump like that?
He has stolen so much, I don't even know the dollar amount.
I feel like I'm a prisoner in my own home. Nothing's safe from him.
Abby says her 17-year-old son, Aiden, doesn't follow any rules, gets high, and stays high because he smokes dope several times a day, drinks until he blacks out, steals money, jewelry, and alcohol. Now, Aiden admits to stealing from his mother and sister, but says he always gives it back.
Oh, it's about this in my line.
I feel like I can't really control my anger.
Please stop!
I don't necessarily black out when I'm angry.
Stop breaking stuff! It's not yours! Stop breaking stuff!
I try to remember back on it, and it's more just fuzzy to me.
Stop breaking stuff!
I smoke at least 3 blunts a day. Every day I'll wake up, roll a blunt. I am addicted to weed, but in my opinion, it doesn't affect me. I did smoke today, I just didn't get high, simply because of my tolerance. I have taken jewelry from my family. I have always given it back. I took my sister's necklace because I thought it was a nice necklace. I used the excuse that I wanted to see how it looked on a girl, but that was a lie. I did take a few $100s out of my sister's wallet because I wanted some quick money. When I steal, it feels like a rush. A couple months ago, my mother and I got into a really bad argument. I was just holding her wrist down in front of her stomach. I didn't realize the severity of what I did until I was sitting in my jail cell staring at the white wall. I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, I really just got into a domestic dispute with my mother. I felt terrible about myself. My mother uses the therapist techniques on me. My mother says, like, oh, do you want to talk about that? Like, how does that make you feel? I want to feel like I'm talking to my mother, not a therapist. I don't think she can fix me. And at this rate, I do need outside help.
Aiden, how you doing?
Pretty good. How to feel about yourself?
I'm all right. What's broken? You said you don't think your mother can fix you. What's broken?
I'm not sure. I think I need someone to help me figure that out.
Are you generally angry? I mean, do you have a chip on your shoulder?
My temper's easily, like I don't really have too much control over it.
When you get angry, do you know what you're doing?
I kind of know what I'm doing, but I don't have too much control over it.
Do you have the ability to pump the brake and do you? I mean, they see you angry, but are you pumping the brake? Could it go worse if you let it?
Absolutely.
I looked at this tape. Let's look at this, and I want you to comment on it.
Your fault! Why are you scared? Why are you scared? I'm not going nowhere.
What's going on there?
I was very angry. It looked like I wanted to hang up the phone or grab something out of my mother's hand.
I said, "You're scaring me." And then he would say, "What are you scared of? What are you scared of?"
Tell me what's going through your mind there, because I'm really curious what gives you, how you give yourself permission or the right to treat a woman that way. Not just your mother,
of course,
any woman.
No, of course. I know I don't have the right to. I don't.
But you give yourself the right to. And I have two sons, so yeah. I'm really curious about what the thought process is.
It is kind of like a reflex. I would say I don't really give myself the right to. I know it's wrong. I would say in the moment when I feel so angry and like have all these emotions, honestly, like, don't really care about the consequences.
What do you expect people to do when you create this consequence?
Label me as another kid with a mental issue.
Kid is over. Adolescence is over. Childhood is over. You're 17. And I'm trained as a forensic psychologist. I've spent a lot of my career in the court system. They're going to try you as an adult. It's not juvie, it's big boy jail. And I'm here to tell you, I don't want that to happen at all. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And I want to help you make that not happen.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Aiden says growing up, there was a lot of anger and yelling in his house. So did he think it was okay to act that way based on the world he grew up in? We'll talk about that after the break.
When I was 6, our father passed away, and we didn't know how it happened.
They lost their father to suicide. I wanted to spare them from the actual way in which it happened, so they didn't know that it was suicide until 3 or 4 years ago.
About a year ago, my brother was looking for something, and he found my dad's death certificate.
It was really eye-opening to read a death report about my own father.
He committed suicide by lighting himself on fire, and it shook me up a little bit, but it definitely shook Aiden up.
Up until you read that, you thought he died of a heart attack or something?
I think I did know it was suicide. I just didn't know the means.
She had told us that it was suicide when I was 14 and Aiden was probably 11.
I'm sorry that you found out the way you did and then the graphic detail that you did. What did you think when you read that?
I didn't believe it. It was like, what the, like, this is crazy.
Because it was graphic. It said he ingested gas, he drank it, poured it all over himself, and then lit himself on fire. That's what you read, and that's a terrible thing to read about your father. And I'm sorry that you had to see that, and I'm sorry that that happened.
He chose a very disturbing way, and it probably took a while for him to, like, yeah, whatever, but yeah, it didn't really register with me at the time. It was a shock.
And he did this on Christmas Eve.
Every year we'd go down to South Florida to see my family. He couldn't go because he had no more time off of work. So we left him probably a few days before Christmas, said our goodbyes because we were still trying to make things work because I wanted to keep my family together. And we just left to go down to South Florida. And I remember it was actually the 23rd of December I got the call. It was my mom's birthday. Everybody was there having fun. And I'm getting this phone call and I'm not processing it. I'm like, okay, I have to hold it together.
It kind of messed with my head a lot because it's like, he must have like hated himself a lot. And in my head, it's like, why wasn't I good enough for him to say, like, why weren't we enough for him? And it's just terrible. And I was sad for a little bit, but now I'm just I don't even like thinking of him or looking at pictures because I just get so angry because it's just so selfish to me. And I know he was in pain, but it's like, I just feel like, why weren't we enough?
What do you think?
Honestly, I would say I'm kind of right there with her. I wouldn't change anything though. I feel like everything I've gone through for a reason, and it shapes the person I am. No, that sucks though. Like my father died, but yeah, I don't know. Mostly right there with my sister.
I really have a pivotal question to ask you when we come back that I think's going to determine where you are going to be a year from today.
Yes, sir.
Because I promise you, a year from today, you are going to be in a very different place than you are today.
Yes, sir.
Your life is going to be better or it's going to be worse. It is not going to be the same as it is today. And a huge, huge part of whether it is better or worse is going to be a function of how you answer the question I've got to ask. We'll be right back. Closed captioning provided by...
I have my master's in mental health counseling. I actually work with families very similar to what my son has been going through. He did have mentors, he's had counselors, he's done intensive programs. I had him go to like a wilderness program. He ended up running away from that.
Some things that my mother has done to try to help me is send me to certain programs, like different rehabilitations. She's got me a mentor. I've gone through a good 5 therapists.
It's really heartbreaking knowing I'm helping teens and their families get better, and I can't do that with my own kids.
Well, Abby and Kaylee say that they desperately want Aiden to stop living a life that they think is self-destructive. Abby says she feels like she's tried everything to help Aiden. She says he's right, that she sent him to therapists, hospitals, jail, camps, mentors, and feels helpless because he just continues doing what he's doing, and the anger continues. He's smoking dope 2-3 times a day. School's not going well, life's not going well, and how do you get along with your stepdad?
We're cordial. I mean, I always describe me and his relationship as more like roommates. We like respect each other's space in the house. I mean, we'll talk if we need to, but yeah, it's more like I acknowledge you're there, I acknowledge you're there. Like, yeah.
Is he your stepdad or your mother's husband?
My mother's husband.
I would like to ask Aiden if he would think differently about how the relationship was when we first got married, because I think they would. They actually asked if they could call him Dad when we first got married. I started to notice maybe some of the shift and change when my kids became teenagers. Teenagers is another animal all in itself. But I would say initially when things happened with Kaylee and we didn't know why her behavior was changing the way it was and she got very aggressive, we didn't know probably, was it about a year? I found out after. So she would get aggressive and angry and kind of come at me, and my husband would try to step in and like hold her back, and she went into fight mode. And I'm realizing now it must have been she felt like it was like an attacker on her. And so then there was combat like between them and just anger. And obviously it's not his biological daughter, it's my daughter, so I'm gonna protect my kid. And wherever my kids go, I go. I'm all they have. So I would see where if there was any type of arguments or disrespect, maybe it was viewed that I just took it. And maybe there's times that I did. Maybe I wasn't as strong as I could have been, or I enabled behavior. But I don't really believe in yelling or getting physical or aggressive with my kids. He's never gotten physical or aggressive with them. He's young.
Probably when I was in 12th grade, so Aiden was in 9th grade, he was 14. Him and my stepdad wanted to fight him, and they fought in the living room, like fist fight, like how someone would do out on the street. I got arrested 2 or 3 times for domestic violence on my stepdad.
And you got arrested 2 or 3 times? And you got in a fist fight with him?
Yes, sir.
Were you just describing the same?
It's the same man. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm sorry that, I mean, again, my brain and my memory, I'm just so caught up in all that's going on.
Well, wow, you just described a very different situation than they're... Are they lying or are they telling the truth?
They're not lying.
Well, there's a big piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And stepdad's not here today, which he could have been, but he's not.
Yeah.
Why not?
He's more private, and these are my kids, so where my kids go, I go. I mean, he was given the option. I asked if he wanted to make a video. I guess he's not here necessarily to say his side or defend himself, so that's why I'm hesitant.
I'm sorry?
Well, he's not here to be able to say his side of things either, so I don't want to speak on his behalf.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't commented on him one way or other than to say he's not here.
He's not here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I said I had a question for you, and we got sidetracked. I'll ask it when we come back.
I was afraid the whole audience was going to be pregnant.
She can't travel and refuses to eat at a restaurant.
When phobias
Have completely taken control of their lives.
leave them frozen
This is really a gripping issue with you, right?
by fear.
It's important to avoid cross-contamination, so these are my kitchen utensils, and these are my parents.
That's Monday. Then on Tuesday,
I will put this side of my hand on that side of your face.
a house of chaos.
The dog's jumping up and biting him. He's strangling the dog. You're hitting at him. Seriously?
That's Tuesday.
My brother's really good at cooking. He loves being in the kitchen. He can really cook anything from scratch, and he really enjoys it.
I would say I'm a pretty good cook. I like to make a lot of Italian dishes, especially pasta.
Even a recent job he had, the chef said she saw a passion in him that most people don't have and was willing to give him like an apprenticeship.
He keeps getting chances to work at restaurants and really explore being a chef, but he keeps messing them up.
Aiden has a lot of people back home in his corner hoping he can do a 180. Here are a couple of his supporters.
Aiden, I've known you for 2 years, and I know this past year has been the most trying for you. I know you want to try and find your way back, but the drugs and alcohol are just getting in the way and stunting your growth. It's time for you to correct the mistakes of the past so that you can plan for a better future. Your family and I would love for you to go get the help you need to repair the damages that you've done and move on with your life. I know you have it in you to become great. Love you, buddy.
I worked closely with him in my kitchen, and I really felt he was going to be the next big superstar in the food business. He was amazing until the problem started, and I had to let him go. He has some growing up to do. I hope he makes the right choices because I think he absolutely has what it takes to make it big in the food business. If Aiden can get a handle on his issues, I am absolutely here for him when he's ready.
Yeah, here's 2 people that obviously believe in you. So tell me something. How did you feel when you were doing those things?
It felt really good. I felt helpful.
So you were proud of that?
Yes, sir.
Well, here's my question for you. Yeah, I said your life's going to be somewhere different a year from now. Better or worse, and not the same. Because, you know, it takes a lot to change momentum in people's lives. And you got momentum right now, and your momentum is not good. And when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And as I said, childhood and adolescence is over. And I don't think you've made that switch in gears of recognizing that that's over. I'm just really curious what you want to do. Because it's really up to you. It's not up to your mother. You're not playing this game for her anymore.
Yeah. Honestly, I just want to show, especially my mother and sister, that I am willing to mend the relationship that I have with them. Also, like, I understand that I am going down a very destructive path. And I feel like me being here can be very beneficial, and I just really need some help and advice from you.
Not Mom. Not anymore.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, you've got 3 felony charges pending.
Yes, sir.
Do you know when that trial starts?
I thought it was going to be this month, but I don't think I know when it is.
Yeah. Do you know what I did before Dr. Phil? Before this?
No, sir.
Yeah. I had a company called Courtroom Sciences. And there's actually a show on television about my life before this. It's called Bull. You ought to watch it. It's on Thursday nights, 10 o'clock, CBS. And it's about a psychologist that does trial strategy and jury selection and all sorts of things like that. That's what I did. If you don't hear another damn thing I say all day, you need to hear this.
Yes, sir.
I said, when did your trial start? And you said, I thought it was going to be this month, so maybe next month. Your trial has started. You're in trial right now. Because who you are and what you do from now until the time you walk into that courtroom is going to be outcome determinative in what happens with the trier of fact, whether it's a judge or whether it's a jury. And if what they see and what they know is that you're throwing tantrums and smoking dope and stealing from your family and sitting around giving thuggy one-word answers with a bad attitude, then that's who they're going to make a decision about. If, on the other hand, you decide to go down the other fork in the road and demonstrate that you do have the intellectual capacity to be an honor student, you do have the skill set to be a culinary force in the business, that you do have the attitude to make amends to the women in your life, to begin to live in an exemplary way, then they're going to say, this is a young man that deserves a chance to continue this lifestyle. Your trial has started, my friends. I got somebody else who wants to talk to you about this in just a minute. We'll be right back. I invited someone here today because I believe he has some relevant thoughts for Aiden. And I'm talking about a reform gang member, Brian Worth. He changed his life around in a big way. He's now a pastor. He says he started on the same path as Aiden. Take a look.
When I look at Aiden, I see a picture of me, smoking weed, hanging around the wrong people, drinking a little beer, and then ultimately ruining my life. I joined the neighborhood gang at 12. Regretfully, at the age of 16, I was responsible for a drive-by killing. I was 17 years old, just sentenced to life in prison. I had to do a long 16 years until then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger approved my release. I felt so grateful for another chance that I wanted to do all I could to help other young people not travel the same path of self-destruction I was on. I encourage Aiden to look around and see that there are people that love him and support him. Dr. Phil is showing Aiden a huge amount of love by intervening for him. I wish I had someone like Dr. Phil when I started my path of self-destruction. Aiden has a wonderful opportunity to change his ways before he gets in over his head.
Well, Pastor Brian has also written a book called Young Man Arise. Fresh Hope Emerging from the Darkness, which is a great book for people searching for hope to rebuild their lives. Please give a warm welcome to Pastor Brian. You got into street life gang, actually, starting at 12 years old, right?
Yeah, I was jumped in at about 12 years old.
You were involved in a drive-by shooting?
Regretfully, at the age of 16 years old.
A year younger than Brian?
Yes.
And you got charged with what?
I got charged with 1 murder and 1 attempted murder, and I was charged as an adult.
Yeah. And you've been listening to what we've been talking about so far.
Oh, yes.
And I told him, childhood and adolescence is over. At this point, you're going to be charged as an adult, and he has 3 felony charges pending right now.
Well, when I heard his story, when I heard your story, bro, I really, really saw myself in your story. I was smoking weed every day. I was getting drunk every day. I was mad at the world. I experienced death as a little kid when my oldest brother was shot and killed. And I understand why you're stealing to try to make up for the losses that you had. But you're at this turning point. You have this opportunity to make either a decision that's going to ruin your life for the rest of your days or make a positive decision that will set you up for the future. And my encouragement to you is take advantage of what's happening now. This is one big act of love.
So the question comes, can Aiden completely change the trajectory of his life? You know, I said he has a choice to make. I'm going to ask him about that when we come back. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today. Do you get what's going on here?
Yes, sir.
You know, there are some moments where we are at the precipice, where we come to a threshold where all things wrong can be made right. We just have those choice points in our lives. This is one of those for you. You have a chance to turn this whole thing around right now. What do you choose? What do you want? What do you say?
I choose to take that positive path, that fork in the road.
You got to get away from the dope. You got to get away from the alcohol. You need to make amends with your mother. You need to make amends with your sister. You got to do everything you can to turn this situation around. Are you going to school?
Yes, sir.
If you graduate high school, I've made arrangements for Valencia College of Culinary Arts and Hospitality to provide you a full-ride scholarship. A full-ride scholarship to their 2-year culinary program. That's already set. You're seeing them right here. Valencia College is one of the nation's most recognized community colleges. They have combined classroom instruction with on-the-job training to help students develop the expertise for a variety of roles, from head chef to food and beverage manager to event planners. The students learn from industry experts. They gain the skills that are transferable around the globe, across the industry. They've got a great 2-year program, and I've gotten with them and arranged for you to have a scholarship there. All you got to do is graduate high school and show up. It's set.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that.
I believe in you enough that we've already been working on this. You sure have the ability. You are a very smart young man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You know it, and I know it.
Yes, sir.
So what are you going to do?
I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize. I'm going to stay on my grind, get to culinary school.
All right. Well, this gentleman right here will be your FaceTime pen pal.
Sure will.
He will talk to you. He will tell you what you need to do. You will talk to him?
Oh, yes. I'm excited to start a relationship with you, bro.
All right. Mom, does this sound like a plan to you?
Sounds like a good plan, sir.
I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to Pastor Brian Worth for joining us. This is his book. And trust me, once you pick it up, you will not put it down. Young Man, Arise. This is a compelling book. You will love it. And another special thanks to Valencia College. Really, Valencia College, thank you for believing enough in us to believe in our standing up for him. For more information about today's episode, or if you'd like to share your story on drphil.com, then please do so. Be sure to also tune in to my weekly podcast, Fill in the Blanks. This is a new year and a new you. Listen in and find out strategies to help you live your best life. You don't want to miss it. And you have to check out Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw, with famed 48 Laws of Power author Robert Greene, to talk about seduction, finding your voice in a friendship, and how to keep the spark alive in this fascinating conversation. Robert tackles topics you haven't ever heard him discuss before. Check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We will see you tomorrow, and we'll be watching to see what you do. All right, thanks for being here.